We're in a series on what to do when life gets hard, and it will get hard. So to put this real clear in your mind, let's imagine that your son, you got a call that your son was in a car accident. What's the first thing you'd want to know? Well, you'd want to know if he's okay, all right? And let's imagine he is going to be okay. He's going to be in the hospital for a day or two, but he's going to be out and about, and he's going to be okay. What would be the next thing you would want to know? I'm guessing if you are a normal human being, one of the next things you're going to want to know is, whose fault is it? Did my son do something stupid? Did he run a red light? Did he drive while he was drunk? Did he do something crazy? Or did somebody do something to my kid? We want to know. Inquiring minds want to know, whose fault is it? And I want to talk to you today about the idea that no one wins the blame game. That although there is something hardwired in us that wants to know whose fault is this, and we want to point our bony finger at somebody and say, this is your fault, but it doesn't actually help. And if you think about that specific illustrations, let's imagine that you find out it is in fact your son's fault. You feel better? You feel any better? No, you don't feel better. What if you imagine that somebody else did this to your son? Somebody ran a stop sign or stoplight and T-boned your son, as happened to my cousin a few months back. Do you feel any better? Do you feel any better that your son was innocent and somebody did this to him? It doesn't really help. And no one wins the blame game, and that's what we want to talk about today. I found a sermon by Adrian Rogers where he talks about this one lady. She died of lung cancer, and she sued the tobacco company because she had lung cancer. And now she's actually died, and her kids are now suing the tobacco company because she has lung cancer. In the same article, Mr. Taylor talked about a man named James Carter, a student at the University of Virginia. And there was a drug bust in the frat house where he had lived at the University of Virginia, and the police came in and arrested this young man for dealing drugs. Well, the father, what do you think the father did? What do you think that the father wants to know? Who's at fault here? Who's at fault here? The father of the young man, Fred Carter, was furious, and he wanted to know why his son had been arrested. He wanted to know why the police did not go to the University of Richmond. It's the police's fault. They came to my son's university. Why didn't they go to another university? And this dad wanted to blame somebody else. And what I want to talk to you about today is nobody wins the blame game. And we've all read, he goes on to say, the article about another man, the former president of American University resigned recently after it had been discovered that he's been making obscene phone calls from his office. Sounds like something from today's headlines, but anyway, he's picking up the phone now. He's a university president and calling people and making obscene phone calls. Well, a doctor wrote in the Washington Post, a doctor by the name of Kenneth Grundfast, wrote in the Washington Post that this man deserved public sympathy because he was a victim of an obsessive compulsive disorder, which is, and I quote, caused more by abnormal DNA sequences than an individual's chromosomes than by a moral lapse commonly described as wicked and hostility and trepidatude. That is, the man is not to be blamed, he's to be pitied. All right, one more. It gets worse. In New York City, a man deliberately jumped in front of a subway and was mutilated, but he sued the city and collected $650,000 because the train didn't stop fast enough. It wasn't his fault. It was the train's fault for not stopping fast enough. And there is something in us that wants to find out